Welcome back to another episode of Fantastic Falcons. My guest today is Mayor Mike Aspacher of Bowling Green, Ohio. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. Could be better. The weather's kind of iffy.
It's winter time in Bowling Green, Ohio.
Yeah, that's how it goes, I guess. Well, I was just gonna start a little bit with your background a little bit, kind of where you came from. I know you came from Bowling Green, Ohio.
Yeah, that's true. So I was born in Bowling Green, born in Wood County Hospital here in Bowling Green, and I've never lived anywhere else. So ever. I attended school here in Bowling Green, elementary school, junior high, high school, graduated from Bowling Green High School. After I graduated from high school, then I came here to Bowling Green State University. While I was here at the university, I met my wife. We got married on Prout Chapel, just across the Commons here, we've lived here in Bowling Green our entire married life. We had two adult children, who we raised here in Bowling Green. They are Bowling Green State University grads also. Neither of them live here, so they've gone to other places to pursue their careers. But Bowling Green guy, never lived anywhere else. This is my home, and of course I certainly love Bowling Green.
So what was it like to go to grow up in Bowling Green? Kind of go to the school here, not the college, but kind of the town itself, separate from the university?
You know, Bowling Green, back when I was growing up, was quite a bit different than it is now. The campus, the way it is today, really does not resemble at all in a lot of ways what it was like when I was growing up here. Of course, this was the 1960s and 1970s. That's a long time ago, but it was a great place to grow up. It was back then a pretty quiet, sleepy college town. Of course, it was busy during the year because there were a good number of college students and staff and that sort of thing here during the course of the academic year. But when the academic year was over, students went home. Back then there wasn't summer school, so during the summer it was pretty sleepy. It really was a pretty sleepy college town. Still pretty dynamic during the year with all of the students were here, and we had all of the cultural and social benefits of the diverse backgrounds of students. But it was really different, and in a lot of ways, the campus was our playground, one of our playgrounds when I grew up here. We used to come on campus, ride our bikes all over the place, go to the hill out by the expressway. That was a sledding hill for us. Played basketball in all of the gyms on campus back then. There were three gyms: the men's gym, the women's gym, and Anderson Arena. We would just rotate between those gyms all day long. So it was really different, but it was a really great place to grow up. Our parents were comfortable letting us leave the house early in the morning during the summer, go out and play, come home for lunch, and then we were gone all day. And we were able to do that back then because it was pretty different. So it was a great place to grow up.
Awesome. That kind of answers my next question, which was how's Bowling Green changed since you were a kid? But you kind of already.
Yeah, no, the physical changes here on campus are just really astounding.
Yeah.
There are a lot of buildings that were here that are no longer here. And the university has done a great job in capital planning and identifying opportunities to build new buildings to support, a modern educational approach. So there's all new, there's new residence halls, there's obviously new athletic facilities, new classroom buildings. It's really, really different. But they've done a really great job, I think, of recognizing the heritage of the university and incorporating a lot of the original design elements into the new buildings. So, the feel of the old buildings and the new buildings, they really mesh together really well. I just think they've done a great job of capital planning. Their architects and their engineers have done a really great job. So even though it's different, it does feel the same in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I noticed, especially when you look at the old pictures of, or if you look at Hannah Hall before it got the remodel, how they incorporate it so well into kind of a newer.
Yeah, they're really, really skilled at that.
Yeah, it's just really cool. So you went to Bowling Green State University, and I was just kind of curious, what was your major? 'Cause I couldn't find that anymore.
Yeah, well, you probably didn't find it because I didn't graduate.
Oh, really?
And I'll explain that, yeah. So when I came here in the fall of 1979, I was an education major. I wanted to be in it was, my minor was political science.
Mm-hmm.
So what I thought I wanted to do was to be like a history teacher, a government, current affairs type civics, really, teacher. And I wanted to coach because when I was young, we played all the sports, season to season, football, basketball to baseball, year round. That's what we did. So I really thought that I wanted to teach and wanted to coach. But I didn't graduate because, like, the summer before my senior year, I had an opportunity to accept an apprenticeship from the local 50 plumbers and pipe fitters union. It's a trade union, which my dad was a member of that trade union at that time, and he kept encouraging me the whole time I was going to college to apply for an apprenticeship. And I really wasn't interested, but finally I applied just out of respect to him, and I was accepted. But that was the summer, or that would have been like in 1982, and the economy was really slow, and they didn't start any apprentices until it would have been like in 1983, I believe it was. So I decided to try that with every intention of going up, doing it as a summer job, making some good money, and then coming back to college. But once I got involved in my apprenticeship, I found that I really liked working in the skilled trades, and I never went back to school. I have very few regrets in my life, but that's one of them. I wish that I would have completed my education, have that diploma. But everything worked out okay for me. I worked for almost 40 years in the skilled trades, had a really great career, retired with full benefits when I was 58 years old. So things worked out okay for me, but that's why there's probably not a lot of records of me at Bowling Green State University. I never graduated.
I almost did that this semester. I almost had to drop out, and I was going to go get my CDL license.
Yeah.
And then I ended up figuring things out, luckily. But so you were a plumber and a pipe fitter. How was that? Like, how does that kind of compare to your job now?
Of course it was really different. I started out in the trades as an apprentice, and the apprenticeship is a really interesting form of education. So our apprenticeship was 4 years. We would work full time, 40 hours a week or more, Monday through Friday, sometimes weekends if the job dictated that. But for 9 months of the year, for those 4 years, we went to school 3 nights a week. So we would go to work every day, and then we would go to school in the evenings from like 6 until 10. It was a very comprehensive education, learned all of the trade-related skills, welding, a tremendous amount of math, trigonometry and geometry, tremendous amount of science. It's all part of that trade, and the applications, the physical applications of heating systems and cooling systems and closed loop plumbing systems. So it was a really comprehensive education, great way to learn. So the skill set that I learned, in that portion of my career during my apprenticeship certainly supported my career working in the field. Once I got started in the field, I was given opportunities then to progress in my career and become a foreman and then a superintendent. I was the boss on big jobs, and then I moved into the office of the company I worked for and became an estimator and a project manager. So along the way, I was exposed to opportunities to learn management principles, organizational structure, everything associated with being a project manager. And really one of the things I think that probably was most relevant was just learning communication skills, how to communicate, how to lead people. Because, when I was a project manager, I was supervising jobs where we would have 150 or 200 employees often on these jobs, and it was my responsibility to make sure that they had everything they needed when they need it and communicate with them and understand what it was that they needed to do their job. So communication skills, I would say, is probably the most relevant skill that I learned in my professional career that has helped me be an efficient public servant.
And that also kind of leads into my next question, which was kind of how plumbing and pipe fitting, how does that lead into being the mayor, but kind of project manager, getting into management positions? Was there maybe like a moment you decided, like when did you decide you wanted to run for mayor?
Well, that was, becoming the mayor was really kind of the last step in a pretty long career. I don't know if I should call it a career, but involvement in public service. And I would establish, right up front that my view of my role as a mayor and other elected positions that I held is that, I always saw myself as a public servant. I never saw myself as a politician. To me, there's really distinct differences between those two things. When I look at elected officials in Washington, D.C. or Columbus, to me, I see a politician. That's somebody that, is functioning in a little bit different environment than what I feel local government is. So my career in public service, I started out serving on the board of the local Little League Baseball Association. A friend of mine, Tim Dunn, is the one that has organized that league for many, many years. And when my kids became involved in Little League Baseball when they were, I think, like 7 years old, I, of course, started getting involved, and I was coaching their teams and helping coach their teams. Well, Tim Dunn approached me about becoming interested in serving in the organization that helps administer or run the Little League Baseball out at Carter Park here in Bowling Green. So I agreed to do that. I served on the board, and while I was doing that, at one point, one of the fathers of a kid that I was coaching, a local guy here in Bowling Green, was involved in civic matters here in Bowling Green. He asked me if I would be interested in running for the Board of Education. My kids at that point were, they were attending the local public schools. I had never thought ever of running for elected office, but when I talked it over with my wife and my parents and my kids, we decided, it's an opportunity to give back a little bit to the community by serving in that capacity. So I ran for the school board and I was elected. I served 2 terms or 8 years on the Board of Education. And when my kids graduated from high school, I thought it was appropriate that I would be done, because I thought that it was important that the board have representatives of kids that were, of parents that were, had kids in the district at that time. So I thought I was done with public service. And then a couple years later, I was approached and asked to consider running for city council. So again, after talking it over with my family, I decided I would try. And I was elected as the 3rd Ward representative for city council. I then proceeded to serve 5 terms or 10 years as a member of city council. I was the president of city council for 6 of those 10 years. So I had really great relationship with the current mayor, Mayor Edwards, at that time. Just about the time Mayor Edwards was finishing his 2nd term, I was approaching the time I was retiring on my job, because remember, I continued to work full-time in the construction industry the whole time. And I was retiring. And I knew that when I retired, I had to have something to do. Mayor Edwards conveyed to me that he was not going to seek an additional term. So I thought, well, who else is going to run for mayor? And I felt like I had something to offer based on my previous service. So I had the time, I had the ability. I offered myself for service in that capacity. I ran unopposed and was elected to my first term of mayor. And then just last year in November, I was elected to my 2nd term. So now we're in my 2nd term of mayor. So I've been involved in public service here in Bowling Green for a really long time. And it was just kind of a natural progression. And I think one of the things that motivated me to do that, as I mentioned before, was just public service. Local governments, small towns like Bowling Green really rely on citizens to become involved and take some ownership in our community and figure out ways that you can contribute in a positive way to make things better. And that's really has always been my motivation. So I'm grateful, for the opportunity of served in all of those capacities, and now currently to be the mayor. I love everything about it.
Awesome. So you've had kind of some experience in public service, extensive service.
Yep.
And I assume being a mayor isn't necessarily an easy job. So what are kind of some challenges you faced, I guess, being mayor or just being in public service for the past few years?
Yeah, it's it's challenging for sure. The our city organization is comprised of more than 300 people, and again, going back to what I feel the role of the mayor is number one. I think it's my role is to make certain that all of our employees have all of the tools necessary to allow them to do their work. I mean, these are highly trained professionals, and they need everything, the resources that they need to do their work. So, at the very beginning, what was important for me was to, I think, come up with my own belief system of what was the role of the mayor and what was the role of local government. So local government, in my view, exists to provide services to the residents that live in this community. So when you go down and you understand, you look at all of the city departments and understand what it is the city does, you begin to establish some priorities. For me, my priorities, my top priorities have always been public service, public safety. So it's police and it's fire. Bowling Green is a municipal utility community, meaning that we provide all the utilities to all of our residents, electric, water, and sewer. It's critically important to me to make sure that all of those services are provided dependably, reliably, efficiently, cost effectively. So those are some of the priorities, and it's difficult when you're managing everything that we do, because everything it's kind of all tied together. There's public safety, there's utilities, there's parks, there's public service. All of these are important parts of what makes Bowling Green a great place to live. So you need to make sure that you're using all of the resources that you have, which are limited and they're scarce, to make sure that you're balancing all of these things and making sure that everybody has what they need to provide those basic services that meet that criteria. Dependable, reliable, cost-effective, and high quality. So that's probably the most challenging thing, is to make sure that we're establishing those priorities and distributing resources appropriately to make sure that everybody has what they need, and also doing what we're doing to help the community grow. I mean, we got to grow. Or we're not going to have the resources that we need, because as time goes on, everything costs more. Wages increase, the cost of service, commodities, everything increases. So we need to grow. How do we do that? We do that through economic development. So I spend a lot of time working with our economic development professionals, working to attract new businesses to Bowling Green, retain existing businesses. So all of that, is pretty challenging, and it's a lot different than my professional experience. Not a whole lot of that has much to do with plumbing and heating and air conditioning. So it's been a steep learning curve for me every step along the way. But that's one of the things that makes it exciting, is because it was, everything that I did, whether I was on the school board or council or now as the mayor, was really different than my professional experience. Like everybody, you get enmeshed in a job, and over the course of the time, there becomes some regularity to your job, and it's easy to become complacent and just, kind of settle in and nothing really new or challenging. Well, public service always provided that challenge to me intellectually, to help me continue to grow intellectually. So, there's always something new happens every day, and that's one of the things I've always enjoyed about it.
And I guess in this town specifically, there's, I don't want to call it a challenge, you could call it an opportunity, actually, of having, relations with a large university, especially comparative to the population of the town.
Yeah.
Does that bring along its own set of, I don't want to say challenges, but...
No, you're absolutely right. It is a challenge, but the way I choose to look at most any challenge that I'm confronted with is it's also an opportunity. And you hit it. I mean, yes, it's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. And, when I look at the presence of Bowling Green State University in this community, I've long realized that it is maybe one of our most significant community assets. I mean, look around, and how many other communities our size have a world-class, vibrant public university in their town. Well, we do. I mean, if you take away everything associated with the university, our town is half its size, and our town would be really different than it is. So Bowling Green State University is a significant, very significant. It's hard for me to emphasize how significant part of our community it is. And so that's where the challenge comes from, is making sure that we're, on the city side, working constructively together with the university to make sure that we're appropriately supporting each other, because we are codependent on each other. Of course, the city relies on the university for the vitality and all of the things that it brings to our community, the diversity, and all of that. But the university depends on the city too. We provide the infrastructure, we provide all of those utilities, we provide public safety, fire protection. So we are codependent, and that again reinforces the need for us to be connected and make sure that we're working together productively and strategically. And we are. I mean, I'm really proud of our relationship that we have with the university. I'm very connected with President Rogers. We meet regularly to make sure that strategically we're aligned, and our staffs work together consistently, constantly, really, maybe a more accurate word, to look for opportunities to coordinate on improvement projects and make sure that we're supporting each other appropriately.
All right. And we've kind of talked about kind of the difficult parts of being the mayor, but what are kind of, it could be like a favorite moment, I guess, or it could be kind of just what do you enjoy about the position?
Well, I enjoy most everything about it, quite honestly. Yeah, the challenges are there, and yeah, there are nights that I don't sleep so well worrying about certain things. But for example, earlier this week, or no, I take that back, it was last Friday, I spent more than an hour talking with a class of seniors at the local high school about, these were maybe non-traditional students that had decided that they may not be attending university, but they hadn't necessarily decided what it was they were going to do. So I had an opportunity to go in and talk to them about opportunities in the skilled trades based on my experience in the skilled trades. Had an opportunity to talk with them about opportunities in industry based on my experience with local industry representatives. And there are tremendous opportunities that aren't maybe the traditional path from high school into higher education. It's a lot different. So I love the opportunity to talk with young people. I regularly go to the elementary schools and have an opportunity maybe to support teachers in the classroom talking about reading or local government or whatever it is. I really enjoy all of that. I really enjoy working with the downtown community. We got a really vibrant downtown. A lot of unique small businesses that, for the most part, are run by local people. These are the people that are sponsoring little league teams and sponsoring the band and the choir, and all of these things in our public schools. So I really enjoy working with the downtown community. I really enjoy working with those responsible for educating the young people in the community, the school board and the superintendent. We're connected because everything that we do here in Bowling Green, it is all tied together. I mean, the voters in Bowling Green just last November approved a bond levy to build a new high school. We're going to get a brand new state-of-the-art high school here in Bowling Green, and that is going to support efforts to help the community grow and prosper in so many ways. So again, that's just another example of how we're all connected. So I have the ability to kind of interact with all of these different groups and organizations that are involved in the Bowling Green community, making a difference here. I spent a lot of time I mentioned that I meet regularly with President Rogers. I am involved with the athletic director, figuring out ways that I can support things that the athletic department is doing. I've had an opportunity to go meet with those involved in student government here at Bowling Green. So there's really no shortage of opportunities for me to get out and engage with groups in Bowling Green that are, that are here and trying to make a difference, and I love every bit of it.
So less so about your position and more about kind of the city of Bowling Green itself. What do you think are some strengths of Bowling Green that kind of make it this great place to go to school and to live?
Yeah, well, Bowling Green, I think, is it really is a welcoming community. I have seen how, socially things have been a little tense, in the last several years, based on national events that are happening in other cities. We feel that here in Bowling Green, and one of the things that I experienced, like in the aftermath of some of these high-profile, racial issues, George Floyd and others like that, the local response has been to step back and make sure that we're doing all that we can do here in Bowling Green to make Bowling Green a welcoming community for everybody. And I think that for the most part we are. Is there opportunity for improvement in those areas? Of course there is. You can always get better. That's one of my core values is I want to consistently strive to be better. I want to be better tomorrow than I was today and better than that the day after that. So we're always looking for ways to get better. But Bowling Green is a welcoming community. I think that just physically, Bowling Green it's a pretty great place. I mentioned our downtown. I mentioned our parks. In Bowling Green, I think that if you look at the number of parks that we have, it's extraordinary for a city this size. Somebody told me one time that we have a city park within 1 mile of every residence here in the city of Bowling Green. That's pretty exceptional, and we take great pride in our town or in our city parks. Our infrastructure is well maintained. Our city schools are great. Bowling Green State University is here. We've got, all of those unique businesses in the downtown area. We have that event every year in the fall, the Rally BG on Main, where we welcome the students back to town. We bring the townspeople down to Main Street. We shut down all of Main Street, and we have this big festival that lasts, a good portion of the day. In August, usually every year. That's a great opportunity to get students downtown and townspeople together to really experience the benefits of our downtown and experience the diversity and the dynamics of the young people that come to Bowling Green from unique places, different places, and they bring with them their diverse social skills and their backgrounds. So I think all of those things combine to make Bowling Green a pretty unique and a pretty great place that I'm really proud of.
And we kind of touched on this. There's always room to improve. You can always be better tomorrow than you were yesterday. Is there any specific area maybe the city has its eyes set on of like we need to improve this or?
Well, I think that one opportunity for improvement is to figure out ways that we can build an economy here in Bowling Green that creates opportunities for young people that are attending Bowling Green State University to live here in Bowling Green postgraduate. And we're focused on that. We really do work hard to try to do that. There's a lot of room for improvement. And what does that include? I think it requires us to continue to try to attract a diverse set of businesses to Bowling Green. We could there is room for us to attract more professional organizations, banking or insurance or tech centers or those sort of things, and we're working at that. Housing is a big part of it. We really don't have a lot of housing options available here in Bowling Green, and we hear it every day, whether it's students looking to come to Bowling Green or stay in Bowling Green, or whether it's young professors looking to take a job at BGSU, or teachers in the public schools, or whatever it might be. We don't have diverse housing options to offer them, so oftentimes they go live in other communities. We're working really hard to try to develop some diverse housing options here in Bowling Green to support the growth, and we are growing. And we are being successful in attracting some housing. We've got a brand new subdivision being built here in Bowling Green this year, an existing subdivision or two being expanded. There are two new apartment complexes that are being built. So we're having some success. But that, I think, was one of the things that we're really focused on, is trying to create a community and economy that's attractive to a lot of the students here, to hopefully let them pick Bowling Green as their home.
And you kind of I'm just curious. Do you know if there's a big like post grad presence of BGSU students in BG, or do you know if they tend to kind of?
I think that probably the vast majority tend to go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's a real opportunity for us. And there are some things coming, in terms of businesses that I think will be attractive to some of the graduates. For instance, I don't know if you've heard that a year ago we were successful in attracting Abbott Labs, which is a Fortune 500 company to Bowling Green.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're building a new production facility in Bowling Green. It's north of Bowling Green on property that we annexed into the city. Mm-hmm. So we're working with their engineers right now to build this manufacturing facility. There are going to be a number of diverse jobs in this building, and one of the reasons that they considered and ultimately ended up choosing Bowling Green was because of the presence of Bowling Green State University and the programs that they have that will support needed employees or needed disciplines in this building. So they're going to produce a very specialized, unique nutritional supplements in this building. Mm-hmm. So there will be jobs there for nutritionists. There will be jobs there for food scientists and biologists and chemists and researchers, quality control and manufacturing jobs. The initial construction is going to require nearly 500 employees. Mm-hmm. So it's going to have a significant impact on our city, and that's an example of the type of business sector that wasn't previously represented in Bowling Green. In fact, this is the first facility of this type in Northwest Ohio. Mm-hmm. So we're really fortunate that they picked Bowling Green. It's going to be transformational. It's the first Fortune 500 company that we've been able to attract to Bowling Green, and that's an example of, I think, the type of businesses that we need that will attract or create opportunities for a number of Bowling Green State University students in diverse disciplines. And we know that there will be other businesses that will support Abbott that will be located to Bowling Green. So again, it's kind of a trickle-down domino effect. So that's going to be a really big deal, and that's an example of the type of things that we got to keep working at.
Mm-hmm. And that also kind of ties into, it's awesome, we're going like right in order. Kind of what do you see for the future of Bowling Green? And I mean, it could be like a 1 year, 5 year, it could be 25 year, you know what I mean? Like, what do you, I'm not judging you on accuracy,
Yeah, well, it's going to look really different. It's interesting you asked that question. I mentioned earlier I was with some high school seniors last week, and in advance of that meeting, their teacher asked them to create some questions for me. Mm-hmm. One of the questions from a 17 or 18-year-old kid was, what's Bowling Green going to look like in 5 years? Mm-hmm. And that question really got my attention. As I was reviewing it before the meeting, it really caused me to think. Mm-hmm. I've been thinking about it ever since, quite honestly, but I can tell you Bowling Green's going to look really different. It is going to look really different than it does today. I believe that, of course, Abbott is going to change the face of Bowling Green on the north side of town. We're involved with I'm involved in multiple conversations with developers for new subdivisions. There will be additional subdivisions. There will be additional businesses that will come to Bowling Green to support Abbott. So that I think the north part of Bowling Green is going to look really different, and that's one of the entryways into our community right there on 25. Our downtown will look different. We're working with property owners and business owners in downtown to envision the next round of investment in improvement of our downtown area. There will be significant improvement in the downtown area, but that's our core. It will look different. Bowling Green State University will look different. They continue to address changes in higher education, and they changed in order to support that. I mean, there's tremendous growth opportunities on campus. The golf course over there on the east side of campus is a blank slate, just waiting for them to determine for university leaders to determine what is the highest and best use of that property. That will look different. I'm certain of that. And I know that there are other projects that the city and the university are working on collaboratively to change student access and pedestrian access. So there's no question it will look different. It's hard for me to predict all the ways it will look different, but there's just no question it's going to change, it's going to evolve, and it's going to improve, it's going to get better.
I guess that's kind of all you can say. You kind of talked about how different it is from when you were here as a kid. Yeah. Well, stayed here, but and I think that's something I really like about BG, because I come from a small town and we have a college, and I don't think it's changed in, I don't know, like 30. It's just been the same.
Right.
And I mean, I look here and the buildings have changed. Buildings are being remodeled. Furniture is being swapped out.
And change is hard. It is hard. It's hard for it's hard to move past the way you remember things, or to overcome what people perceive to be the status quo. But I think that's one of our most important responsibilities, is to understand ways that the world is going to change. Where we all change as we get older, or the world changes. Sometimes we pick change. Sometimes change picks us. You can't always determine how things are going to change. But the responsibility is how you can figure out ways that you can communicate to people how change is going to benefit all of us and benefit each of us individually. Because really at the end of the day, a lot of people, when they first see something being discussed in terms of change, the first impulse is to ask, well, how's that going to affect me? But ultimately, all of this affects all of us. So we need to be certain that we're communicating in a way and creating an environment to adapt and to accept change, because it's inevitable in many ways. And either you're going to evolve or you're going to die. And so I think that's again one of our challenges, is to embrace it and figure out how we can make it reflect our values and our heritage. And I think we're doing a pretty good job of that here.
And this is kind of the final question about the city itself, but what, as in more in particular from like the student view, so like people in this room, people probably watching, what is something that we as BGSU students should keep in mind about the community, or something that we should know, something that we should remember?
Well, I hope that people would or students that come here from other places would venture out, that they would venture west of Main Street, or west of Thurston South College, and recognize that there is a whole community here in Bowling Green. So venture out, take a walk down Worcester Street to the downtown. Figure out a way to venture out even past the downtown and check out City Park. Check out our community center. Check out Winter Garden Park, Simpson Garden Park. We've got all these beautiful parks. We've got these great, unique restaurants in our downtown area. Venture out. Allow yourself to experience the Bowling Green community, to the west and, away from the city core. And every time, that's one of the great things about the Rally BG event, is that I wish I had $1 for every time I would talk to a student at one of those events and hear him say, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to graduate this year, and I didn't even realize that this was here." So one of our challenges is to engage with students when they get here and help them understand that there is a community here, and there are opportunities for every student on campus to be a part of our community. You are a part of our community. We want you to take some ownership in our community, get involved. There are many ways to do that, through utilizing the downtown, utilizing the parks, engaging with students in the city schools in a positive way, becoming involved in your neighborhood, figuring out a way you can support maybe an elderly neighbor. There's dozens of ways that you can, make Bowling Green home while you're here. And even if you choose to go somewhere else when you graduate, you can still be a positive presence here while you're here. And I think that's a great message for us to continue to communicate to students and create ways for them to to do that, to become part of the community.
Awesome. And this is going to be our final question here, and this is more kind of the goal of this is, college is kind of a tough time. There's a lot of changes. We've kind of discussed that with changing majors or having to leave college. If you had to give like one piece of advice to, I guess it could be to anybody, but in more particular, like, students here, what would it be? And it doesn't have to be like one, it can be longer than one piece.
Well, I think that, try to think back a little bit to what I told my kids, and, what I tell students is figure out, what it is that is your passion. When you decide what it is you're going to do for a career, what you're going to do for a living, feel free to blaze your own trail. Follow your own passion, because if you find something that you can do professionally that aligns with what it is you're passionate about, you're never going to work a day in your life, honestly, because you're pursuing, your dreams, you're pursuing your passion, utilizing your creativity and your God-given abilities. Don't really let somebody else determine what your arc is going to be or what your path is going to be. Be yourself, be an individual, pursue, those things that are important to you, and figure out a way that you can, that you can make a positive difference. And you can choose, to make a positive difference by doing the simple things. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're living in an off-campus apartment and you have an elderly neighbor that might have a little trouble shoveling their sidewalk or taking their trash, those are ways that you can make a positive impact on somebody else's life. Don't be so focused on your own challenges and your own mission that you're oblivious to the fact that there are others here with us all the time. So figure out a way that you connect and just make a positive difference.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, thanks for coming on. Do you have any social stuff you'd wanna like? Do you have like a Twitter or anything that you'd wanna?
Yeah, but I don't know what they are.
You know what they are?
I don't know. No, I do have like an official Twitter account. Yeah, Mayor BG or something like that. I don't know, but I'm out there. On Twitter. I look a little bit at Twitter for news. I don't spend a lot of time on any of the other socials, Facebook, or, I have accounts so that we can communicate some stuff, but quite honestly, people manage those for me. So I can't really speak to that too much. I'm not a big social media guy.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
All right. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.